So today I will present, let me share my screen. So today I will present BIM deployment integration challenges and what and how data governance could lead this process to be solved or to at least give some information how to deal with it. So thank you very much for having me today. I hope we'll, after all this interesting presentation, I will try to do a presentation of myself, and I hope it was good. So first of all, I will present myself. My name is Omar. I'm an architect who graduated in 2012 from Tunisia. After several years of experience in different companies, and I worked in an international firm, I became BIM manager, then head of BIM division, and as you said, I am the CEO now of EvoBIM, specializing in BIM management and BIM deployment. I am also a university professor in the master profession of BIM. So let's deepen our presentation. So as you know now, for building information modeling, as you know, is transforming our project and our industry. We are moving from 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, and 7D management with all the information required for BMS, supervisory control and data acquisition, and also IoT, and try to connect everything in a useful way. However, integrating this process effectively with an agency between stakeholders presents many challenges due to several factors as I will present them, like limited BIM proficiency, the resistance to change, total absence or small absence of BIM standards, and what I call lack of awareness of stakeholders. So let's do that. I mean, sorry if there is some noise because it was included, as I said. So limited BIM proficiency, which is one of the primary obstacles to BIM adoption. Let me explain. So the limited proficiency among construction professionals, particularly in small agencies that usually don't have some ISO for documentation or any kind of practice, which are usually small architectural firm or small engineering firm. They don't have any dedicated IT department to be able to implement all the environments necessary for BIM users. So also many professionals in this company structure with the necessary skills and knowledge. They don't know how to use BIM tools or the technology or even have any idea about management. So this skill gap, it's always leads to poor project incomes. To workflow, which I usually find in several companies when I'm trying to deploy BIM, is that their core BIM workflow are based only on the existing software knowledge of their team. Let me explain. So if you have one good element who is using, for example, Revit, the other one is using ArchiCAD, someone is using PDS Max or using any other kind of software, they base all their effort and workflow process on these skills. So they are creating what I call a non-structural way of working that relying, as I said, on specific individual, not on creating some team collaboration, which makes the implementation of BIM even worse or more difficult. Another point, which is now really important to me to speak about, and this is the main thing I want to advertise about it, it's about us being consultants or being managers. We usually develop workflow without adequately addressing this different level of BIM maturity among employees. So we usually have what I call now an unrealistic expectation of uniform understanding of BIM. So we think everyone will understand all the processes that would have been made or put in place by the software will do as how we will charge, how we will implement information, how the naming convention will be used, and too many times the managers start to create something really difficult that they can be the only person that can understand, which lead them in many cases, and it was my case before, to do the whole job for them besides transferring this information to them. And sometimes it will lead also to the BIM manager or the BIM consultant or the BIM coordinator, which has what we call the BIM maturity or level of understanding of this process, to go over their scope of work by doing even sometimes technical stuff within their job, which is not required for us as a BIM manager. We should lead them, we should show them how they do their job, not do it in their place. And this, so therefore, I think BIM managers should always address this issue when developing the BIM strategy, and they be more realistic on how they will deploy it within companies. Don't think too big. You should take on account all the elements and how they will evolve, but when implementing it, it should go step by step, and don't try to speak about the final process. You should plan for it within your process, but don't deploy it from the first day. It should take the time to get this BIM maturity. And also, it must be done. A successful BIM transition requires stakeholder to proactively consider the time it will take to cultivate this structure. So usually when someone or any company or any designer require or choose to move to BIM, they don't take into account the time that take for the employees to manage, to understand the strategy. I'm not talking about softwares, I'm talking about understanding the standard of BIM and how the workflow works, which leads me to my next point, what I call for me the resistance to change. So usually resistance to change often begins actually from always prioritizing software purchase over the BIM process, which for me discourages digital transition. Each time the discussion switched from how BIM can resolve things to how BIM will cost for our company, and asking about return of investment and all this procedure. And this is due to focusing more on softwares, which are a good tool, and it's a tool for BIM deployment. But for me, we have to speak about BIM management and BIM process before we speak about which tool or which software would be used, especially for small firms, because when you speak about BIM for the big company, usually they have the money and the resource to do it. But for small companies, which are really important in this process, small office of architecture is leading sometimes a big project and can evolve. So we need to find how to, they can understand the BIM, they can integrate BIM without every time being afraid from the cost of it, and how they will teach their element to be efficient on softwares. So we need to shift, as I said, focus from softwares to BIM standards and management. And another thing which happens often in companies, that's when we are talking about BIM and we are putting the digital way, the skills and the knowledge of software, some senior leaders within this company, which have a lot of expertise, get to feel they are excluded from this process, which cannot be done because BIM is not only digital or format an IT way, which should be, as I said, for BIM manager to have a lot of experience to be able to connect many years of decades of experience with the new way, the digital way, and using what we call young skilled staff, which have better knowledge on the digital way and softwares, and try to connect them. That's one of the things when I do with deployment, I really emphasize on it and we try to connect it. One another point, which is leading to the big challenge for me, what's called the access of BIM standards. So in many regions, particularly in Africa, there is no standardized BIM protocol or data exchange format, which was a major challenge. So without clear standards, anyone can do whatever he wants. There is no clear gap where to go and from one company to another company, some standards trying to change. Even the BIM managers within these companies were implementing things in this case where there is no BIM standards on the states or regional way. They start to do whatever goes in their mind. So there is no clear roadmap or clear way to do it. So for me, establishing national and international standards together, they need to be synchronized for BIM, such BIM Building Smart, and create a uniform approach enabling collaboration across projects. And that's one of the main goals of this. The objective is to advocate for the adoption of BIM standard within national building regulation by state of government. If the government establish BIM within this process for the buildings or for projects, it automatically will generate the need of BIM and people will be more acceptance of BIM standards, BIM protocol, and BIM deployment, rather than try to convince them one by one and waiting for the top managers to take the decision, and sometimes without even having any idea how it will be deployed within their companies. So, and another point, it's what I call inadequate stakeholder awareness. So for me, many stakeholders are missing out the significant advantage of the BIM, like the project owners, in particularly, which would have gained by adopting BIM because they have power on the whole life cycle of the building, from initial planning until facility management, going from multiple designs and construction, even lead construction now. So this benefit, we don't use it usually, and consequence is often used by all the designers and engineering team, which is normally have to adjust their focus primarily on the scope of work which they are paid for. They will not take in consideration what happened after they submit the deliverable. They don't want to say it in a bad way, but they care about only the scope of work. So for me, if the BIM should reach its full potential, it should be with the client or the owner a decision to implement BIM. It's the only way that BIM can reach 100%, and then you can speak about 3D BIM, 4D, 5D, 6D, and now going into 10D. So we need to focus our training and raise awareness through workshops, seminars, demos, and some explanation, but not only for engineer and architects for design field, but for the owners, and explain them they are the case done. They are the people who need to have the power to govern the BIM approach. And that leads me to data governance and how it should work in crucial role in overcoming this deployment and integration challenge in BIM. So as I said, data governance, for me, it's a case turn for successful BIM deployment and integration, because it involves managing data availability, usability, integrity, and one thing which is becoming more and more important and demanded by people, which is called security within an organization. So an effective data governance ensures that data usage is accurate, consistent, and reliable. Something I have to do it too many times. They said trust, we were talking about trust, accuracy, and consistent, which is essential for me to enable collaboration and interoperability, to reach interoperability in BIM process. Without it, it would not be done. So let's deep dive on these points by what I call ensuring data quality. So high quality data, for me, it's the backbone of an effective BIM implementation. It's the framework that process data collection, validation, and maintenance. It's ensure that the information used by the BIM model is accurate and up to date. When you reduce risk of error, inconsistency, it's the best point to sell or to deploy BIM within companies and states. And to achieve this, we need to adopt strict governance practice from outside projects. So it involves establishing policies, procedure, and the responsibility to ensure that that data is managed effectively. A component of this framework are, for example, as we heard today, the BIM execution plan, so the BEP. So well-defined BEP outline the standards, protocol, and responsibility for data management. It ensures that all stakeholders are aligned on the data quality requirement and workflows. It's also put in place the standard naming convention for files, models, and data, which for me is really critical for the consistency and to avoid any problems. So the practice simplifies data retrieval and enhance interoperability. So if we have a well-defined model and we cannot extract the right information, or we have this information extracted so many times because we messed up, or even for the use of language between French or English or German, that we are exporting 3 times the same information for the same asset, or we're not exporting anything because we didn't map or we didn't use the right naming of the asset parameters or the asset attributes, which sometimes could be shameful after a long period of working to be unable to extract the right information. And also sometimes within our projects, we have meetings and we don't have time during the meetings to open a Revit or Archicad file to look for the right information. We should use viewers for IFC or any other type of data extraction to find the information right away, because during a technical meeting, it's the job of the BIM manager or the BIM coordinator to provide a seamless flow of information. And if you break it, you will break the decision. And one of the best things in BIM is to ensure that to take the right decision quickly and without any repercussion. So to achieve that, one of the other points with the EER, exchange information requirements, which specify the data format, the level of detail, and the information requirement for each project. They clearly define what data needed and how it should be exchanged. This file is really crucial, and it should give us and maintain consistency and accuracy during the lifetime of the design or modeling the project. Information delivery plan or information delivery system, which are now becoming one of the best things for me, because it ensures that the right information is delivered, nothing more, nothing less, and it's delivered at the right time. So sometimes when I require something, I need it. I don't need too much information during conceptual design, but I require during detailed design. And even now, when we are finishing the project and finishing the as-built model, preparing the model to receive some facility management softwares like building monitoring system or SCADA, we are reducing the amount of data within our models. They don't require a model that's served for the construction, which contains several and a lot of information. They are not required for the maintenance of the building to implement these softwares like BMS or to implement some IoT elements to reduce and to share the right information and to share it in the right way, to be able to integrate other softwares which usually are not part of the BIM philosophy, but for now, more and more they are integrating BIM as a point of integration for their process. Other thing, the common data environments, which everyone knows serve as a centralized platform for data storage and shared collaboration. So by integrating data governance tools, such model checker, version control, and should all of them give the opportunity to create API to be able to monitor data governance through several projects and through several companies, even through several buildings. Some CDU now it's providing this for few parts like parameters, some families, some the number of the employees, but it needs to go further by even centralizing all the parameters that should be done, like we did, we can find like we did in Mortar last time, by trying to combine what is needed and what IFC element it is, and when it should be, and how it should be written. So normally, when we put this convention name within a common data environment, it will ensure that combined with EDS, which will ensure that the whole information, whenever it comes from IFC, the PDF, or any other data, all of them should be accessible and managed in this way. Also, BIM rely integration and interoperability. So you should be able through data governance to facilitate data integration. So for me, data governance is the only way to ensure that the diverse data created by architectural design, engineering, and sometimes specification in PDF form or construction schedule to be all gathered together. Otherwise, you cannot speak about BIM or interoperability. This integration is critical for achieving a universal view of the project and enabling effective collaboration among stakeholders for the whole life cycle of the building. Now I will speak briefly about data security. As construction projects become increasingly digitized, data security has become a big concern. So when you are speaking about exchange of information, some projects should provide the necessary security that this information cannot be breached, especially when you are working with states and you are working with the military, for example, or any governmental facilities. You should provide them security because it's vital to enable trust, and even how the data are stored. In some countries, like my own, for example, it's forbidden for cloud data regarding government data to be stored outside our country. So we should use the tools that are provided now, and to be able to adapt to the data security protocols required by each person to, as I said, build trust and push them to create BIM standards and the BIM protocols. Also, for the same thing, what I call supportive regulatory compliance. So construction projects are subject to various regulation and standards from region to region, from one country to another country. Regulation and standards are changing. We have French standards, European, British standard, American standard, and now so on. Even each country have her own national standards. So data governance should, the data used in BIM, whenever they are created, should comply with this requirement. This is not only help avoid legal issue for sure, but it will help the one thing is the credibility and reliability of the BIM model and the BIM process. So, in conclusion, I will say the deployment and integration of BIM offers significant benefits for construction projects. However, these challenges must be addressed to fully realize these benefits, and to convince which is the important thing, all stakeholders to be involved in the BIM process. And I am sure that the data governance, as we explained today, will play a role in overcoming this challenge and establish operational and realistic vision of BIM, which should be realistic. It's not something we create our office with a new topic or a realistic view, and later we try to implement it or to force people to go in our way. It should adapt and should be taken account each condition where it will be deployed and how it will be deployed, and accompany everyone in their work. I hope it was interesting for you. Thank you very much for this invitation and for this opportunity. And I give you back the stage.